this Ramadan.
5 after 12 exactly. It's a Wednesday morning. This is the mid-morning show with me, Julie Ali. And next we have Hassan Noor Mahomed. He is the Deputy Director at the Islamic Dawah Movement of South Africa. And he's here to talk to us about the Quran collection drive and how people can get involved in this project. Assalamu alaikum to you, Hassan Noor Mahomed. Welcome to the program. Nice to have you here.
Wa alaikum salam, and always a pleasure to be on your show, alhamdulillah.
Okay, tell me, how long have you been involved with IDM, and how long is the Quran project an ongoing project? Is that the only thing you guys do at IDM, or are there other types of projects?
There are many other types of projects that we deal with, and alhamdulillah, the Quran project has been one of the main focuses of IDM in recent years, so much so that we've now successfully translated the Quran into 7 indigenous African languages and distributed well over 125,000 mushafs. And part of this project has come through from the need that there is for the Quran, and especially the need in the mother tongue of the people. And we found that this is the best tool for dawah, and being a dawah organization, this is our primary focus. Apart from that, obviously we do masjid construction, and we have alhamdulillah successfully constructed over 80 masjids in southern Africa, and we have 36 dawah centers in southern Africa as well. A host of this also includes the water well projects, as well as the daily feeding, where we feed approximately 1,200 children daily. But this being the month of the Quran project takes extreme precedence.
Okay, so is this an ongoing project every Ramadan, the Quran project?
It's an ongoing project every month of the year because the need for the Quran is so much. And in this month, what we try to do is raise as much funds as we can to print enough Qurans to do the distribution throughout the year. And the suppliers, or who we give it out to normally, is obviously the communities and things like that, but also other NGOs and dawah bodies who come to us for the Qurans in the indigenous languages.
Okay, I might get into trouble for asking the next question. I posed this question previously 2-3 years ago to another group that were also distributing Qurans. And my question is, how do you know that a particular community will be welcoming the distribution of the Qurans? I'm also wondering those of them that are not interested, because I should imagine when you target a community, the number one prize is that everybody are interested enough, and inshallah you will get people then reading the Quran and reverting en masse. But you would get those people who are totally disinterested and will then either get rid of the Qurans, and that's a concern. That is a concern. What do they then do with those Qurans that they're not interested in, and they're not interested in your dawah work?
Okay, a very valid question, and I think the question is something that most people probably have, and the way we work, which is slightly different to any other dawah bodies. Initially, if you recall, I mentioned that we have 80 massages that we've constructed across South Africa. Now, this is a phenomenal feat, but what it allows us to do is it allows us to create a network of communities. So when any of our programs or outreach programs or dawah programs they run after there's a needs analysis that's done of a community, and we assess how receptive they are to Islam. And the first phase in this is establishing a masjid for the smaller Muslim population that's within that community. And then from there, we run programs to invite people to the masjid so that they use it at the center as a base for distribution. And then when they've now become soft now to Islam, and they've seen the characteristics of the Imams and things like that, that is when we do take the Quran out to them. And that being said, in that respect, there's two versions of the Qurans that we print. Generally, one is a transliteration, and then one is a translation, which obviously has the Arabic and the local language inside it. And this is a key differentiating factor, because the transliteration we can give to non-Muslims. The Arabic you have to give to a Muslim. So once a person has reverted to Islam, then he gets the full Arabic as well as the introductory pack to Islam, and then he joins our adult revert classes. But pre this, the it's not just a we're going out in the streets and we're just giving everybody the Quran. There has to be a significant call from them, or a call from the public for the Quran. Yes. I
Alhamdulillah,
hope that
that's
answers the
amazing.
question.
Absolutely, absolutely. Um, what I'm also intrigued about is the transliteration. I've just learned something on the show this morning. I was
Mhm.
not aware of the fact that non-Muslims are only given a transliteration. But
Yes.
obviously, I have read a transliteration. It is so comprehensive. How does
Yes.
it make it different from a Quran in an African language or any other language other than Arabic?
The difference applies to the content and the understanding of the content that's inside it, which is the same as if we were read an Arabic English translation. A bulk of us don't speak Arabic and or have very limited knowledge on Arabic, so we can't absorb the meaning of the Quran in its native form, and this is a hindrance, because the beauty of the Quran is in its meaning. So, by having the translation paired with the Arabic, you're able to, one, identify the words and familiar yourself with even the basic normal surahs that we go through. We understand the meanings and the importance of it. So this is acceptable. With regards to the ones where we give them without the Arabic content, this is to again soften their hearts towards the Quran, so that they can understand, because a lot of people have questions about the Quran. Islamophobia is a very widespread thing. Even in our own country, people don't have an understanding of Deen. So the curiosity factor in there is for them to understand the message of the Quran in its translated form. Then we welcome them to Islam.
Okay, I've often had discussions with people where they'd say, don't let him or her touch that because they're not in wudu, they're touching the Holy Quran. Sometimes you have your helpers at home and you were reading Quran and you mistakenly leave it there and they move the Quran. And then, I kind of responded and said, it's the intention with which they had moved the Quran. And
Yeah.
then the question as well is, what about when Qurans are being delivered, the Arabic Qurans, and that was in the spoken word directly from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So we revere those Qurans in Arabic.
Yes.
It's Allah talking directly to us. When they're being delivered, I've often wondered about how they're being handled. If you're shipping them to other countries, people, the general workers at the depots don't understand what they're handling, and they may just mishandle those containers or boxes or cartons, etc. Does that not concern you?
I think it's a valid point that you have, but again, it's the purity of the Quran
Intention.
is there. It's intrinsic. So to start off where you started off, that you have to be in a pure state to hold the Quran in its Arabic form, right? And this is a given. This is known and is accepted. It's so far as transportation and things like that are concerned. One, generally speaking, printing it generally happens with most more often than not with Muslim printers and things like that. both here and across the world. So that's a given. On their reverence of the Quran is equally so as ours. So they put especially importance into putting in there. But I'm sure there are odd scenarios where it's delivered in boxes and there are non-Muslims that are holding it. And to that end, I would, in my limited knowledge, I would say the fact that they're not directly touching the Quran, I'm sure negates that. But in that being said, I know that every time when we've received Qurans, it's always a forewarning, and the people that go there, because it's Qurans that are being received, it's not like a box of things that just gets thrown onto the floor and they just slide it across and slide it across. It's a special care taken to it.
Alhamdulillah, I'm pleased to hear that. Let's get to the release of the new Yao Quran. I hope I'm pronouncing that correctly. Why
Yes.
this particular language? Who is it targeted at? And
Mhm.
let's learn more about it for the purposes of this Ramadan project.
Yao is a major language in Malawi and Mozambique, spoken in excess of about 8 or 9 million people. And in South Africa alone, we have over 1 million Yao speakers and Chichewa speakers, which is the other language that is predominantly in Malawi. And this is something, or the Quran in their language is something they have never seen before. There have been some attempts to translate it, but the translation was not as accurate. We've now refined it to a very authentic point. So that's the new release that we have, and it caters for the predominantly Muslim Malawians that speak Chichewa. And for them, it's about the same principle as we would use the Arabic English for our kids. It's about translating that message to that crew. And so yeah, that's the Yao Quran and where it's from.
Alhamdulillah. An amazing, amazing initiative. So, how many are you going to be distributing this Ramadan? And before you
Uh,
respond to that, let me just throw in another question as well.
uh-huh.
How long did it take to get it to almost the point where you and the rest of the board members felt that this is good to go? It's as perfect as we can get as far as the translation is concerned,
Mhm.
and nothing, inshallah, is lost in translation. So, how long was this a work in progress?
So all Qurans go through a very stringent process and peer review process. So the original translator, he has a copy which he puts in, and then it goes into a peer review process which takes approximately about 2 years, and it differs depending on the language. And then once that's done, it's then still sent out to other alims who then have to go through it. So it's no layman, and it's not even anyone from our specific board that goes through it to give the final go ahead. It's a consensus from their peer reviews, and they tell us that this is now the final form, and Alhamdulillah, it's translated quite well. And then we go through that process. This being the initial launch of it, we've only printed 5,000, but obviously, like I said, there's more than 1.5 million in South Africa alone. So the numbers that we have to reach is quite high. But inshallah, this is the hope that we get communities involved, we get people involved, and they start helping us to print more copies.
On average, what does a Quran cost? Because obviously, by way of this program, we are making dua that people are going to dig deep into their hearts and their pockets and really make a meaningful contribution so you can go on and print more and more of these Qurans. So, on average, what would a Quran like this cost?
Alhamdulillah, we ask for 50 rands for a copy, and if we have to look at the value of that, 50 rand is a very insignificant amount. The reality is, any other book of the size and the print quality of the Quran will cost more than in any store, about 300 rands. But Alhamdulillah, we have reached good agreements with our printers. who are Muslim brothers as well, and they want to serve the Deen as well. So not only do they subsidize the cost of the printing of the Quran, they help us by saying that the more that we print in terms of quantity, the cheaper it gets, to the point where we've got it at 50 rand a copy, which makes it more accessible to everybody.
Alhamdulillah for that. And may that relationship between you and the printers continue so that we can make more and more Qurans available and grow this ummah by leaps and bounds. Now, I guess the very important thing here is to have the Quran in the mother tongue of the people that you are targeting. You've indicated to us who these people are, and inshallah, it does reach them and it does make a meaningful difference in their lives. But there's also the other school of thought that believes that the Quran should be read and understood in Arabic. We know that only a small percent of people, Muslims all around the world, are Arabic literate in Arabic. And I'm kind of wondering, what do you say to those people who believe that you'll never get the true essence of the Quran in any translation, never mind the Yao, but English or any other
Other
language?
translation.
My response to them always has been that rather that they read the Quran in a language they understand so they can get the essence of what the Quran is all about than reading it parrot fashion in Arabic and not understanding what they're reading. So they're not getting the message of the Quran that way.
Correct. Now, I agree with you, and you know, the value of the thawab that we get from each reading each harf in Arabic. This is the value that gets added into our deeds. But you're very right in saying that we can't just read it parrot fashion, in the sense that we the true essence of the Quran is it's the word of Allah. It's been given to us as a form of guidance, and if we are reading without understanding, then we can't derive guidance from there. To those that say that, you know, it must only be read in Arabic and that it can only be understood in Arabic, it's not possible for everybody to learn Arabic. And if I only have to say to people that, just I'll give you an example. A year and a half ago, we did the Portuguese Quran, which was completed by Sheikh Aminuddin from Mozambique, and he's made the Portuguese Quran available to such an extent, or his translation of it is so good that people in Portugal as well as South America are now receptive to his translation. So much so that we have a demand of almost 10,000 copies a month of the Portuguese Quran, where there are droves of Catholic or former Catholic people in South America that are now accepting Islam because of Surah Maryam in the Quran, and
MashaAllah.
their connection to what they call Mother Mary has now brought them to this. Now, this understanding would not be possible if it was only in the Arabic form, because the Portuguese language is what they understand. They're receptive to the message of Deen because they've read something in their language, and it's allowed them to connect to the message in there. In fact, that goes through to any other revert.
Of
If
course.
you talk to any revert who's come back to Islam, it's because they've read the Quran, whether it's in English or whether it's in their own language, but it's because they've read the Quran, and that has what has touched them and brought them hidayah. So whilst there's value in reading it in Arabic in terms of sawab, to truly understand the Quran, we can't hide away from the fact that we need to truly look deep at what the Almighty has been saying to us.
Absolutely. Let's look at your other projects at the Ramadan projects at IDM. What other stuff are you guys doing, or is the focus all on the Quran project?
Alhamdulillah, the organization is such that it's such so multi-tiered that we have to do everything. We have a host of feeding schemes, more so in Ramadan, because generally at all of our centers, the kids or the new reverts, they stay over. We have them boarding at our centers so that they can learn about suhoor and tarawih and iftar. And so a lot of feeding schemes get done at them, and we've asked for a very negligible amount for per meal. I think it's about 20 rand per meal for that. And then we've got food hampers that we then distribute, lillah hampers to the communities, especially now KZN has been struggling quite a lot with the flooding and the looting. So we've tried to assist them as much as possible, and that's just 250 rand per hamper. So these are the major ones that we do throughout the month of Ramadan.
Alhamdulillah. And for people watching us this morning, how do they go about making a meaningful contribution to IDM so that you can continue doing this amazing work that you're involved in?
The easiest way is I would love everyone to just direct them to our website, which is idmsa.org. Again, that's idmsa.org. And from there, just click on the donate button, specify whether it's zakat or lillah, and your contribution is as easy as that. It's an online electronic payment, and from there you'll also get a good idea of the different projects that are running. And also, a very key point to note is that as much as we welcome contributions in terms of monetary and funds, we also appreciate human elements and warm bodies. So we need people to assist us in volunteering their time and their skills. You might be a teacher. You can help us run classes for our matrics. For the grade R's, you can come inside and assist them with that. You might be a volunteer, and we need people to come out and do the distribution of hampers, and or come out and support us when we go out into the rural areas for the Quran drives and such. So as much as we desperately need the funding, we also equally require people as well. So I urge people to please also just volunteer their time. It's a contribution that you make, so you become part of the deen, and its commitment to the deen is what we require, because we believe it's intrinsic on all Muslims to do something for the cause. You know, you should wake up every morning and say, what have I done for the deen today? And even if it's giving a little bit of your time or helping somebody, we appreciate that equally so.
Inshallah, inshallah. My final question to you is rather, I'm wanting you to recap the year in COVID and how it's affected communities in the IDM network. And also, do you have offices throughout the country, or is it just based in KZN?
We have major offices, our head office is in KZN, and then we have satellite offices in Cape Town, in Eastern Cape, as well as Gauteng. And so there are satellite offices which are run from there. And COVID has affected everyone. And more so the people in rural South Africa, which is something not a lot of people are exposed to, because community health is dire, and the need for fresh water, clean water, obviously important to purify ourselves, and we all have sanitizers. Most of rural South Africa does not even have water, so it's affected. The need for fresh water has become that much more during COVID, and that was the immediate stress for us in trying to get more clean water to people. And apart from this, severe amount of job loss that has happened through COVID, and there's a lot more communities that are distressed. But Alhamdulillah, I want to take off my hat to the Muslim community, who have always in droves given, and given without question. If there is a need, they're always out there, they're always giving. So to the Muslim community, our year and our experience through COVID, ultimately I would sum it up by saying that it's been made up of the Muslims giving. Because at that point and in this struggling nature, we have come to the forefront, and we have our donors, the people, your listeners, your viewers have come out and have supported all of those in need. And that has just shown to South Africa who Muslims really are. So I think that's the
And
positive from COVID.
hopefully that addresses those Islamophobe mindsets that's running rampant all around the world. I think these acts of kindness by IDM and all other such organizations, not only in South Africa, but globally, I think sends a very strong message what Islam and what Muslim people are all about. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala accept all of your efforts. May IDM grow from strength to strength with every passing day. And inshallah, we will talk soon. May you be rewarded and long live IDM and all other such organizations. Lovely
Ameen.
talking with you. Lovely talking with you.
Jazakallah, and we appreciate the time. Assalamu alaikum.
It's a pleasure. Wa alaikum assalam. That, of course, was Hassan Noor Mahomed from IDM talking about the Quran project. They've just released a whole host of Qurans in the Yao language, and obviously it's going to be, it's in the process of being distributed all around the country. I've just had a response from one of our listeners regarding the introduction this morning about what does freedom mean for you. I've had some very strong thoughts on Freedom Day, and I stick by them. I'm cross. I'm a very angry civilian because I see a lot of corruption around me and I see the poor getting even poorer. And I have stated that I don't think there's any reason to be celebrating Freedom Day. However, we've had a listener that has sent us a message saying that freedom is a state of mind. Alhamdulillah. Can't disagree with you on that. He also goes on to say, calm Eid, no super shopping. Agree with you on that as well. Let's not go mad with Eid shopping, knowing that we have so very many poor and disadvantaged communities out there. And the caller goes on to say that sadness weighs heavy on some. Undoubtedly, I agree with you. Sterling words from you. Thank you indeed for sending in that message. Much, much appreciated. 12:32, this is the mid-morning